Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Night Shift's first ever video. And since this was something super on demand, we will be coming out with an Anki tutorial.
I'll be learning, Shahab will be teaching.
Yes, sir. And I'm going to spend, I don't know how long, convincing you as to why Anki is the solution to all your problems, not only in medical school, but undergrad as well. So I'm
Mhm.
quickly going to share my screen, and Jarir, feel free to interrupt me whenever
Will do.
regarding why Anki will save your life in medical school. So I'm just going to shift over and switch.
Mhm.
First of all, Anki, as you can clearly see over here, is not a pyramid scheme. It is not a pyramid scheme. By definition, a pyramid scheme is when you're selling a product. As you're going to come to learn, Anki is free, except the Apple app. That is the only thing that's not free. $30. Jarir and me are not making a cent from you purchasing Anki, by the way. There is no, what do you call that? What's the thing they did in the real world where you have to,
More like upsell or?
no upsell, is it affiliate link? There's no affiliate linking for
Oh,
Anki. There's no
okay.
affiliate linking. Now, the first thing I want to go through for Anki is I want to go through some basic psychological principles as to why Anki works and how you should be studying. We can make it more in-depth video on study strategies later. There will be
Okay.
hints as we go through about what the appropriate method should be for you to succeed. And obviously take what we're saying as a grain of salt because we're literally just like 8 weeks into medical school right now. We're not too deep.
Fair enough.
Yes, let's move on to the next slide. First thing
Wait,
we want to go through. Yeah.
hold up. We didn't go through that slide.
Oh, sorry. My bad. I jumped the gun there, didn't I?
All right, explain to me, because I see spaced repetition at this stage as not too distinct from rote memorization, unless we're talking about something happening before we start the spaced repetition.
As we go throughout each and every single concept that's written on the slide, like these are the basic psychological concepts we're going to go through, are going to be explained. The differences
Okay.
between spaced repetition and rote memorization, we will go through. We're going to go through why you want to do active versus passive recall, which actually ties into why rote memorization doesn't work. We're
Mhm.
also going to go through the concept of shallow versus deep work and why deep work, especially in medical school or any sort of field you're doing, is incredibly important. And one concept that not a lot of people brush through is going to be mental schematas, which mental schematas is how your brain actually retains information. Does that make sense? Don't worry, there's at least 3 or 4 slides going through spaced repetition versus rote memorization.
All good.
The only
All
reason
good.
I have
All
it
right.
here, just,
So this is sort of like the contents
yeah,
summary.
it's like the context. It's like the contents. Yes, it's like the table of content. So how we're gonna do it
All
is we're
right.
gonna expose you to the concepts first, and then slowly but surely go through it. It's like the spiral method they're doing.
All right.
Okay, any other questions, Ak, or may I get your permission to
You may.
continue?
You may. Let's go.
Thank you. Now, the first thing we're gonna cover is how human memory works. There's 3 portions of human memory or 3 steps. First, encoding, consolidation, and retrieval. So as it states here, encoding is when your experiences are converted into a neural code by forming and strengthening connections between neurons. Consolidation, on the other hand, is when these neural connections are stabilized. This happens specifically during sleep. That is why sleep is so important. But obviously, both of us would be massive hypocrites for saying to sleep when we barely sleep.
I think
Now,
we're
it is
focusing on
during
encoding.
yeah, we're so focused on encoding, skipping the consolidation part. But yes, it is during sleep where specifically it's REM, so rapid eye movement sleep, and deep sleep, where short-term memory gets converted to long-term memory. But we've all heard the concept neurons that fire together will wire together. That is essentially retrieval. So you need to constantly reactivate your brain's neural networks to recall the stored information. Now, this is actually the basis of how spaced repetition works. And we're also going to go through something called the memory forgetting curve a bit later on to go more in depth onto that. Now, usually what you'll see is it'll be encoding, storage, retrieval, and then you'll go back to encoding. It's more of a cycle than like a three-step process. Because sometimes you'll
Mhm.
forget information and then you have to re-encode it, storage, and then retrieval. Does this make it sense? Any questions?
Yeah, happy. Sounds like a positive loop.
Yes, sir. It is definitely a positive loop, not a negative feedback loop like in homeostasis. Most of the times in homeostasis, it's a negative feedback loop.
That's true.
Sure. The next thing we're going to go through is a big house, a big house, Ebbinghaus. I don't know how to say his name. Forgetting curve.
Yeah,
So the forgetting curve, if you look through the x and y, so the x I'm pretty sure is the independent variable and the y is the dependent variable, right?
sure. Yeah. Mhm.
What's on the y, which is the variable that's going to change, is your retention of the information, and time is going to be on the x-axis. So now what's going to happen over time is your memory is actually going to decay or decrease. So if you're not constantly reinforcing information at certain intervals, like here, here, and here, you're actually going to forget that memory over time.
The curve, as far as I know, it flattens with each repetition. Is that correct?
Exactly, exactly. So how you stagnate or slow this process is actually spaced repetition, as Jarir said. So as we alluded to previously, let's say you look over information 2 days later, or let's say 3 days later. Then what's going to happen is the curve is going to stagnate. Then you're going to review the information 7 days later, the curve will stagnate. Or not necessarily stagnate, it'll plateau or flatten out.
Mhm.
So then you'll remember the information for a longer period of time. Any questions? Or am I like pulling
No.
stuff out of
Do
my bum?
do you have, another graph where it shows that retention?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Let's go.
Trust. My man came prepared. Came prepared. Now
There
that
we go.
next graph is right there. Now, what
Mhm.
spaced repetition is it's combating the decay in memory by reinforcing memories at those intervals. At this, you can see it's 1 day, 3 days, 6 days. So the goal of spaced repetition is to actually flatten that curve. So the information can stay in your head for a long time. Now, usually the process is you'll consume knowledge. That knowledge over time, through learning it from different angles, will turn into understanding, and that understanding will turn into wisdom, which will seep through your experience. Now, that is actually the goal of medical school or school in general. But genuinely, we can talk about this in another video. That isn't always the case. Now, if only, Dreer, if only there was an application that helped us with this, right? If only, if only.
Is there? Do we have something?
Yes, we do, and we're gonna get to that. But
Okay.
what I want to go through is what do most students do and why they're failing or why they're not getting
Mm,
the grades they want to. They actually do something
mm,
called rote memorization. So now rote memorization is just you sitting down and repetitively reading out those lines until you understand it under a short time period. Now I know there is a principle in learning where the amount of time you allocate to something is how much work you're going to get done in that time period, right? So if you allocate yourself a lower amount of time, the more work you can do because you're putting that deadline
Parkinson's
crunch
law.
pressure. Yeah, Parkinson's law. There you go. Thank you, Jura. So
Mhm.
yes, Parkinson law for cramming is going to work, but what happens after you cram? You're going to forget the information 3 to 5 days later. That's why you forget everything after you cram for an exam. Also, rote memorization before an exam is actually much more stressful. If you're consistently doing spaced repetition throughout the year, you'll remember that information for a longer period of time. Not only that, but you'll be less stressed. Why? Because it goes down into I'm actually gonna make a YouTube video on this. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also subscribe to our channel too, about the
It
importance
goes
of
into?
consistency. Sorry?
Ah, yes. No, sorry. I got it. Gotcha.
Yeah. The importance of consistency. It's better to take one small step at a time than trying to overcome that insurmountable obstacle in front of you. For example, if you're looking at a semester's worth of content, break it up into daily doable chunks rather than sitting down there for like a week and cramming it all together. You'll thank us if you proceed and do that because you're going to end up less stressed and you're going to remember more and you'll enjoy your time more. So you'll have more free time and you'll feel like you're procrastinating less. Now, obviously, you're going to have days where you're not going to want to do the work. Just sit down, do one or two, a bit more, just like 5 minutes of review. 5 minutes of review, you think is, yeah, that's not going to get me far. But trust me, when you sit down for those 5 minutes of review, a lot of the time it's going to turn into 30 minutes to an hour. And that's better than not doing anything.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Any questions or may I move on?
I guess it's sort of coming back to what I mentioned before about the difference. So I get that rote memorization is sort of, you read a line and you just keep repeating it to try and retain it, right?
Mhm.
And Anki, a lot of the time, feels the same for a lot of people. So what is it that we can do to differentiate a little bit more the two concepts of, I mean, there's, I guess, the spaced repetition is still to some degree a form of repetition, right? I mean, not to some degree, it is a form of repetition. So my question is, what do we do before we start on Anki?
Very valid question, and that's why Anki is not the panacea to all your studying problems. There's actually a process, and we're going to go through the process together in a later slide.
Okay.
So it's a very pertinent question you ask, and it is the reason why a lot of people fail with Anki.
Hmm.
The entire point of this video is going to be how to combat that and what a good outline study strategy is in order to not only memorize something, but to retain the information or understand the information. Because it's easier for you to memorize something if you understand it. And also, we'll go through this concept with mental schemas or schematas later. That makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, are we good to move on to the next slide app or any more
Yes, we are.
questions?
We're good.
Perfect.
That's
Now, what is the solution? The solution is, as we've alluded to multiple times, it is Anki. Now, Anki in Japanese actually refers to memorization, and if I remember correctly, it started out as a language learning app, which ended up being very effective. So a lot of people adopted it for medicine as well. Now, yes, Anki is free. It is free. So by definition, it cannot be a pyramid scheme. Now, as we alluded to previously, it is $30 on the Apple Store, but on your computer, which is what I'd recommend you use it on, due to certain add-ons only being used on the computer, like Amboss, it is better to use it on your computer. But I also have the tendency to have it on my phone. I do it when I'm walking. I do it in like normal group conversations. I think Jareer has seen me do it multiple times. Like I'm just zoned out, sitting there doing Anki.
Yeah.
But yes, it's something that will not only keep you working, but it lowers the barrier for you to start. Because a lot of the times when people struggle to start with something, it is because they set the barrier too high. For example, I can only study in my room, or I can only study in the library, or I need this and that to study. When you can easily just whip out your phone, turn on like Opel or like a focusing app that will shut off all the other apps, hit up Anki and just do a bunch of cue cards.
Mm.
Nothing easier than doing that. Now, let's roll it back a little bit before we actually dive into Anki, because there are some principles that we need to go through for you to grasp how to use Anki appropriately better. The first and bit of a solution to what Jareer alluded to previously with this question or brought up was the difference between active and passive recall. So, as you can read on the slide, active recall involves actively retrieving information from memory, while passive recall relies on simply reviewing or recognizing information without effort. Now, how do you do active recall? Just get a whiteboard, get a piece of paper, and just start writing everything you know. Or you could opt to sitting down with the study group, 1 to 4 people max, because larger study groups never work, and you always want to study with people who fill your weaknesses and explain concepts to each other. That will help you better memorize and you just sitting there looking over the sheet and go like, yeah, yeah, okay. I know this, I know that. That will never work. Almost never. Unless you're like some borderline genius with what is it called again? Photographic memory. It's not gonna work. Now, active recall serves to actually reinforce the neural networks through retrieving the information. So a lot of people are going to complain, yeah, I try active recall, but it's so difficult. Like, how do I do this? Right. The thing is, studying is supposed to be hard. It is supposed to be difficult. If it's not uncomfortable, then you're not actually learning because you need to strain your brain because your brain is a muscle. It's like going to the gym for you to
Mm.
retain the information or to retrieve it, encode it, consolidate it.
Mm.
So basically, if there's no pain, there is no gain. Any
Okay.
questions?
No, that reminds me sort of, I guess, the brain, the amount of energy it uses, it makes sense that to rewire it and to learn more to create new connections, it would also take even more energy. So that makes sense.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So now we're actually going to go through the concept of stress. There's 3 forms of stress. New stress, which is neutral stress. It's just your everyday stress of you sitting down or picking up a water bottle or the fan in your background. The other is de-stress, which is bad stress. This is the stress that's associated with negative outcomes. Now, stress in general, let's be honest, has a very negative connotation associated with it. That is something I vehemently oppose. Like, I disagree with that. Stress is generally a good thing. That is eustress, good stress. You want to
Mhm.
find the optimal range of stress that will allow you to feel slightly uncomfortable. Now, what this will serve to do is it will translate to other aspects of your life. A, it'll make you more confident because you're getting more comfortable in stressful situations. If you slowly expose yourself by using exposure therapy, like every day you try it a little, try a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, your stress tolerance will build. And in general, Generation Z, our generation, let's be honest, Jareer, is
Okay.
one of the most, I don't want to use the word here due to YouTube demonetization policy, but it is one of the softest generations in existence. Think about the struggle our parents went through, our grandparents, and even the generations prior. They didn't know when they were going to survive. If they'll wake up, if they will wake up. But we take the comforts of modern society into such a luxury. that it softens us. So even when we experience such a low amount of stress studying, we're like, yeah, I don't know, I'm so stressed right now. I don't want to work.
Mm,
Like, how many
okay.
times have you heard that? Like, I heard that so many times in
Heard a
undergrad.
lot. I think we've got a different stress tolerance.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
as we've alluded to, you can build that stress tolerance up. Everything starts with
Yes.
the growth mindset. It's not, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this yet. But if I put
Mm.
in enough effort, if I'm persistent and consistent and committed enough, success will happen. Any questions or shall we continue
Sounds
to the
good.
next slide?
Let's continue.
And this comes down to the Seneca quote. Things that were hard to bear are sweet to remember. Drew, let's be honest. The best memories we have is when we overcome, when it is after we overcame an insurmountable task.
They also make
Like,
the best stories.
exactly. Like, how did you feel after getting accepted to medical school? You're like, oh man, all this hard work.
Man, I was surprised. Let's just say that.
That's awesome. Even I was pleasantly surprised. And now I look back at it, and it's probably one of the sweetest memories I'll ever have.
Nice.
Now, the other thing we need to go through is shallow versus deep work. So, shallow work is work that consists of simple, easily interrupted, we'll zone into this word easily interrupted tasks that require minimal cognitive challenge. So, you're not really mentally challenging yourself. Well, deep work is intense, focused effort on complex tasks that lead to significant learning and productivity. So, shallow work is the work you do when you have your iPhone sitting right beside you. Notifications are always going off, right? They're always going off. I don't know why I'm not on DMV
Mate,
right now. I'm just checking.
my phone is on another floor, so I am doing deep work right now.
Oh yes, that is actually something I tend to do too. I'll leave it on the balcony, but I have to keep it on me this time so I can respond to you if anything happens.
Fair enough.
But yes, that see exactly what he does is he puts his phone on a different floor. What I did in undergrad was I'd actually put my phone in the car, and because
Yeah,
in
I did
Canada,
that. Yeah.
sorry,
Oh, no, no, I did that as well a fair bit, but I see where you're going.
yeah, and especially in Canada where it gets really cold, like in the
Yeah,
winter, I don't want to go outside to grab it. So I'd
yeah.
rather sit inside and continue working than grab it. So now we're
Mm,
lowering the barrier of entry for studying, but we're making it harder for us to procrastinate.
yes.
So one study trick or tip I'm going to give you is that most people can only do deep work for 1 to 2 hours. If you've done it for a long enough period, you can manage it for 4 hours. So actually schedule your Pomodoro cycles around that. So what I did in undergrad is I would schedule 50 to an hour long Pomodoro cycles with 10-minute breaks because my lectures were 50 to an hour minute, 50 minutes to an hour. So it got me used to focusing during lecture. Now what I do is if I feel like I'm in the zone or if I'm in flow, I don't even do the break. I just keep going until my brain cognitively can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, similar. I basically probably go about 3 hours and then I'll need a break, but then I can potentially go another hour or 2, and that's probably the limit for the day when it comes to, you know, learning. But then obviously you can get into other work.
Yeah, and another trick I found is if you switch between doing things, like for
Mm,
example, I'll switch between medical school reading or editing, and then I'll switch back. I actually
yeah,
come to that new thing more refreshed.
yeah. Um, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Arnold, right? So maybe it was someone else more known for their intellect, but they used to take a break from, you know, one task and play chess. So even though that's still cognitively demanding, that switch or that cognitive switch or context switch still works as a break because your brain's not tired of working, it's just tired of the thing that it's doing right now. So you can switch to something else and switch back.
Yes, and very valid point, and that's exactly what we experience when doing that. So thank you for that. That really helps us solidify through the example of Arno why deep work and shifting between tasks is so important. May we continue or any more questions?
Let's continue.
Awesome. Now, another thing I want to go through is this will actually explain my strategy for making Anki cards is something called a mental schemata. So mental schemata, as it states, there are organized mental frameworks that help us interpret and categorize new information. So your brain already has like a network of things that it knows. So in order for you to actually memorize something better, if you relate it to previous information you already knew, you'll actually retain it better. For example, let's say you want to go through the causes of pneumonia or tuberculosis, and you know it's Mycobacterium tuberculosis that causes tuberculosis related to a family member that has tuberculosis, and you actually remember it better. Or there's viral and bacterial pneumonia. There's community acquired pneumonia, and you want to know the differences between atypical and acute. Go into your brain or go into your past and try to relate it to information you already know. For example, community acquired essentially refers to the fact that it's spread between people in their group outside of a hospital setting and in a short period. So acute always means short, chronic means long term. Whereas atypical essentially means that it's coming from something that doesn't usually result in the pneumonia, I think it is. Not usually results in pneumonia, but isn't something that will infect you as often as the others. So you can relate this, go like, okay, so community acquired is just referring to a network or community outside of a hospital. Oh, community center, right? Helps you remember it. Acute versus chronic. Acute, like you see a cute baby, oh, quick response type thing. So
Fair
just
enough.
things that you can relate to that make sense to you. If you do that to create the mental schemata, you'll actually retain the information better. Any
Mm.
questions?
Sounds good.
Okay, guys, we're back from a bit of a lengthy break. Not gonna lie, partially my fault for needing to go to the washroom for so long. Don't ask me what I was doing in there for an hour. It was Anki. It was Anki. It was Anki. I swear to God, it was Anki. So now what we're gonna go through is the steps of how to study your material, specifically in medical school. So first thing you want to do is, I'm not gonna lie, I've done most of this stuff in undergrad. Although undergrad did go into a bit more in depth, once I'm able to go through the information, once I sort of remember it. So what I'll do is I'll just pull up study notes. I don't go to lecture. I'm very anti-lecture because I like my own routine and my own schedule. But in medical school or undergrad, do what works for you. So I would Anki the study notes while having ChatGPT open in the bottom to help me summarize any information or give me better detail on something I don't understand. Then I'll review the cards so that it's in my memory. But I will proceed to then do osmosis and YouTube videos for higher retention. Now, two things I highly recommend. One for histology is called the Histology Guide. It is free. And the other is Complete Anatomy. It's about $80 a month, but you can get a virtual anatomy, your own virtual cadaver, basically. I could try to pull it up and show you guys an example. If you like, just letting it load. Bear with me as this loads. I can go through how I used it. So let's say there's some portion of the muscle system I don't understand. For example, one very prevalent one is going to be lower body, which I haven't prepared for tomorrow, but will be tested on tomorrow. Or we'll have a prac on it tomorrow. So you just go add muscle, add muscle, add muscle, add muscle, add muscle, add
Mm.
muscle. You can go connective tissue. I'll remove some layers. Yeah, okay. Add the venous supply because you want to know what the venous supply is. Add the arterial supply because you want to know what the arterial supply is. Add nervous supply. So now let's say you want to specifically know about the anterior thigh. Boom. Rectus femoris right here. I'll give you a good explanation about what it is. You can go in a bit more to see what motions it's involved in. It could open that up for you. So this is what rectus femoris is involved in. Now
Mhm.
that is complete
Nice.
anatomy. Highly recommend using it. All the kids in our year right now are complaining, not kids, all the students in our year are complaining about the fact we don't have cadavers. Man, just deal with it. At the end of the day, there's nothing we can do to change the circumstances. We can only adapt to such circumstances. Now, the other thing is histology. I would highly recommend using this histology guide. This is something I used a lot in undergrad. For example, if you want more information on the lymph nodes, just go
Mhm.
to lymph nodes, open it up, go, okay, capsule. Where's the capsule? Boom. That's the capsule right there. If you want to know where the tubercle is, cortex, and then you can also run through some quizzes. We've done epithelium so much at this point. Let's try and see this. But stratified, keratinized, keratinized, stratified, keratinized, squamous epithelium. Stratified, squamous, keratinized epithelium. Basically what I said. But yes, you can use it in that manner. Definitely will help you. Now, then what you want to do is do active recall and then practice problems. Now, a bit too far ahead. Active recall and practice problems is where you're getting it solidified into your understanding. After doing this, you'll go into the exam, cruise it with the 50% we need to pass.
But what's the difference between, I mean, let's say, how are you differentiating between active recall and practice problems when, I guess within a practice problem, you are recalling actively. So what is it there that is, I guess, distinct in step 4?
So with active recall, what I'm mainly using it for is to interrelate concept. So what I'll do, for
Mhm.
example, is I'm like, okay, tell me everything about the respiratory system. So not only will I go in depth about the anatomy of the respiratory system, I'll quickly see if I can remember anything about the histology, anything about its innervation, function, how it acts, how it can act as a respiratory pump for the cardiac function or pushing up the blood through the veins or venous pump and
Mm.
all those other
Okay.
concepts or how then I can go into a bit of a tangent about the pulmonary embolisms or how tension pneumothorax can call obstructive shock, those type of things.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Like you sit
Okay.
there and then you interrelate it between concepts and then you can do practice problems. Practice problems is mainly tailoring it toward the exam material itself. It's a good way to gloss through everything beforehand. That makes sense.
Okay, I see. Yep.
Because a lot of the time with practice problems, especially multiple choice, you're not actually, you can say to an extent that is passive recall because you're just reading off things. And sometimes you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I remember this a bit more than that.
Mm.
But because we also have SAQs to do,
Yeah.
short answer questions, then
Mhm.
it's better for you
Yeah.
to active recall beforehand so then you can actually remember what to write for those SAQs. That makes sense?
100%. Yes. Yep.
Now, I did borrow a lot of ideas from these three books. One is Deep Work by Cal Newport, Atomic Habits, and the book I highly recommend reading is called Make It Stick. The Science of Successful Learning by Peter C. Brown and Henry. Peter C. Brown. Let's say Peter C. Brown. We don't need to go too in depth.
That's the one I haven't read.
I would highly recommend you read that book. Like when you'll see the concept I borrowed about you needing to be uncomfortable during work is from this book.
Okay.
And now some YouTube channels I highly recommend. Our Med School Insider is pretty basic. Koi is really good. Anki, Zach Hiley, The MD Journey, and Parag Chutani. Now, the ones I used a lot were Anki and Parag Chutani. That's why I have them bolded. But you can pick and choose whoever you think will benefit you. If you feel like after this video, you've gotten all the information you need, you know, then obviously leave a like, subscribe, and comment about how much we've helped you. And you can also get the PDF and the PowerPoint slides in the description. But yes, obviously subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
We have a lot of great things coming up soon, inshallah. Inshallah. Now we're going to get into the in-depth of Anki. So now there's three main card types you're going to use. One is image occlusion enhanced. You'll have to get the add-on. I'll show you how to get the add-ons. It's very, very simple. Close deletion. So image occlusion enhanced is mainly for histology slides and anatomy. For example, you can do the anatomy of the upper limb, in particular, the anterior forearm. And the anterior forearm is where all the flexor muscles are. And you want to be like, okay, where's the pronator teres, right? Or where's the brachioradialis? Or where's the flexor carpi ulnaris, which is on this side, flexor carpi radialis, all that stuff, right? On the superficial, I'm pretty sure. Then you literally just go into Blue Link Anatomy. I forgot to bring this one up though. You go to Blue Link Anatomy by University of Michigan. They have a Blue Link deck. Link will be in the description as well. Also, subscribe to our email list. Let's go specifically for muscular anterior neck. We don't want anterior neck. Where's anterior face? Am I blind?
Search for it. Command F or Control F.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. And you can basically screenshot this and then turn this into an image occlusion enhanced. I'll show you how to do that. No stress. No stress. And yes, it was superficial. Turns out I'm not too much of an idiot, but yes. And then you have closed overlapper. Now, this is perfect if you want to go through a pathway. An example I can give you is the movement of blood through the heart or through circulation. Jareer, quickly. So through the systemic circulation, it goes through the superior and inferior vena cava into what?
Yep. The right atrium.
And then what valve does it go through to go into the right ventricle?
It goes through the tricuspid.
Perfect. And
Is
then
that right?
when it goes, yes, it is tricuspid. Yeah. Then it
So
goes
then
through
the right ventricle.
And then what valve does it go out of?
Yeah, right ventricle. Pulmonary valve.
Into what circulation?
The pulmonary, what's it called? Is that what it's called? The pulmonary circulation?
Yes, systemic and pulmonary circulation.
Okay, cool. Yep. Pulmonary circulation, and then we have it returning to the left
So
atrium via the what's that valve called?
there's no valve there. It just enters in. Pretty sure.
There's no valve? Okay, easy.
Because it
Left
goes through the
atrium,
two.
then we have left ventricle through the
You're skipping a valve between the atrium and ventricle.
sorry, what?
So it's the
Oh,
mitral
you cut
valve
out there.
between the.
Can you say that again?
There's a
Mitral.
valve between. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Man's got it. Man's got it locked.
Yep. And then
Now,
left ventricle, aortic valve, and we're out.
okay, now let me ask a question, right? I want to see if you got your material down here. What is it called when
That's
the mitral valve isn't able to open properly?
when the mitral valve isn't able to. Is it? No, can't remember.
Mitral stenosis.
Stenosis. Damn. Okay. I didn't want to say it and sound like a fool.
Hey man, look, the only way you can learn
okay.
is by saying it and sounding like a fool.
It's true.
See, that entire pathway Drew and me went through, easily close overlapping. You can easily close overlap that card. Literally just put the pathway down
Mhm.
and then boom, close overlap it. Now, the next is all the add-ons you need. Now, these are all the add-ons I'm using. I'm planning on updating this the coming weekend because I'm missing a couple of bangers. But the main one I'd recommend is the Butler add-on. Damn it. You can get this from Anki. Now, Anki, obviously, you have to pay for it, $20. Highly recommend. We are not affiliate linked. I wish this guy would affiliate link us though. Purchases Anki Master Course. Highly recommend doing that. You can get all these add-ons. You can also get more information about how to use Anki as well. Obviously, ours is free. We're giving you all this value, or this guy has it behind a paywall. Come on, guys. You gotta give us subscribe and like just for that. Subscribe and like. The next add-ons is add table, customize keyboard shortcut. So when you add table, now you can actually table things. For example, if you want to compare the different types of influenza or the different families of viruses, like orthomyxidae, I think it is, like adenoviridae, all that nonsense. I haven't done those Anki cards yet, but paramyrividae, I think it is. Then just boom. Okay, how does it spread? Is it airborne transmission? Is it direct contact? What diseases does it cause? What are some symptoms and signs? Easily table it. You can customize keyboard shortcuts. You can delay overdue cards. I'll show you what this is later. Image resize the pictures. Symbols as you type. Symbols as you type is probably one of the ones I use the most. And I will definitely go through and give you an example. We've gone through image occlusion, enhanced close overlap. So now let's open it up here. If you want to get add-ons, this is all you have to do. Very, very simple. Just search up Anki add-ons, Anki web add-ons. Now let's go to add table. Okay, we're searching up add table. Oh, it's right here. Okay, how do I add table? Oh, we just scroll down, copy, go to our Anki. Obviously, my Anki is going to look a bit different from yours because I've added all the add-ons already. You go to tools, add-ons, get add-on. Damn it. Okay. It is on the screen here. Then just copy and paste the code. Wow, so easy, right? So straightforward and easy. And all you do is you add it and then you can reset your Anki and then the add-on will pop up. Yes, it is really that simple. Like it's genuinely that simple. If you want to get something very specific niche add-ons, then it's a bit harder. But If you guys want that tutorial video, we can definitely drop that for you. So that's how you get add-ons. Now the next thing is tags. Now, tags, in my opinion,
So pause here and download all the add-ons.
yes, sir, exactly as you stated. I'll go back just for you guys to see now. And AdBoss is paid. It's like $80.
You. I've lost your voice.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hang on. Okay, we're back.
Okay, perfect. Now, the next thing are tags. Tags are the most essential thing when it comes to Anki because it's what organizes the cards for you. How you make tags, we're going to go into it, but this is an example. Now, I'm actually, with Jareer here, going to go through and show you how I make Anki cards near the end of the video. So don't click off yet. You want to see a real life example of how I'm doing Anki cards and or how I'm making them. Stick through to the end. Don't be a bozo and click off. The next thing are filtered decks. So filtered decks and tags go hand in hand. So you use filtered decks when you're reviewing particular concepts. For example, if you're heavily struggling with the innate immune system, or specifically the complementary pathways, like classical complementary pathway, the alternative, and I think it's the lectin-based pathway, those three. Then you just search up the tag and go is review. And then you can go through those cards after you fail your active recall session. So I'll give you an example, right? So let's say I'm doing active recall and I'm trying to remember the different types of shock. So you have cardiogenic shock, you have obstructive shock, and you have hypovolemic shock. And these are all shocks associated with low stroke volume. Then you have shocks that are related to low total peripheral resistance, I believe it is. I think it's low, yeah. That is anaphylactic, septic, and neurogenic. So now let's say I'm going through them, right? And I've completely forgot this stuff. So all you do is review after active recall, tag, shock, boom. All the shocks will pop up. You run through the cards again for 50 minutes, right? Then what do you do? Active recall it again. And this time, hopefully you remember more if you're actually focused when doing a review. Is that a good example or?
Very good example.
Okay, awesome. Any questions? Oh.
All good.
Now we have shortcuts. So the main shortcuts you want are, if you're on Mac, Command Shift C for close deletion or Control Shift C. F on front page for filter. B to open the browser on the front page. And when you're reviewing cards, you can hit A for adding a new card, E for editing a card, for adding a current note or the card you're doing. You can also hit A, I believe, on the front page. I remember correctly. But I'm going to give you some more keyboard shortcut examples later on through the video. You can always search up all the Anki keyboard shortcuts. There you go, comprehensive. Gives you all the shortcuts, all the shortcuts. And oh, I forgot the most basic. So
Link in the
when
description.
you want to, yeah, link will definitely be in the description. All the resources will be in the description. But yes, you can easily hit, when you're reviewing cards, you hit spacebar to reveal the answer. You do 1 if you don't know it, 2 if you sort of know it, 3 if you know it, and 4 if it's too easy for you. And yet again, we'll show examples. Now, how I make cards is I'll put all the relevant information in the extra section. And the reason why I do this is because remember when we talked about mental schematas or mental schemas, right? If you want to remember new information, you got to relate it to old information. That's why I put all the learning objective or a question of the learning objective into the extra section of a closed deletion card. That way, if I don't know something, I can relate it. And then I use ChatGPT. Jareer has convinced me to purchase GPT Premium, which I did, and it's changed my life. Sam Altman, you need to hire this guy as your salesman over here. But yes, I use it to summarize information, and we're going to go through an example of doing that. Now, some tips. Remember these tips. Never skip a day of review. Even if you only do 50 to 20 cards, just do it. Sit down and do it. Never skip a day. Next is do what works best for you. And remember, Anki is not the answer to all your problems. It only helps you in regards to spaced repetition. You still have to do active recall. You still need to watch through YouTube videos and osmosis. You still need to do practice problems. You can't just muck up to an exam after doing all the Anki cards and expect to get 100. Anki is only one part of the process. And don't worry, Drew and me will be going through the entire process slowly but surely. This is just part one. This is just part one. This is the comprehensive Anki pack. And remember, no matter what, always tag your cards. Always, always tag your cards. Please tag your cards. Now, these are probably the 4 most important tips when it comes to Anki. Now, before we move on to an example, do you have any questions, Drew?
No.
Do you
Let's
feel
go.
like we did a good job covering all this stuff?
I think so. I think if people see the actual Anki software as we go through a few things, that will really make everything more concrete and make sense.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly what we're going to do. So now we're going to close this slide, the slideshow, I should say, and forget about this. We are going to open up Anki. Yeah. Now I'm just going to fresh open it up for all of you, right? I got it right here.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe we need to show them how to download it first. You just download Anki by going to ankiweb.net.
Yeah.
Hit download Anki, and then you can get it. That's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure all of you have a high enough intellect to get that done. So yours isn't going to look like mine exactly because I've customized it a bit. But I'll show you how I review cards. So you see here are new cards. These are all the cards I've made. These aren't related to Med, but I should probably, yeah, I should. Now what I'm doing right now is I'm going to suspend these 300 cards. And the reason why is just to make my UI look a bit better. No, actually leave it. There's no point. So now you're going to see new cards. These are the cards you have to do. You see a fat 3,585. Don't worry. It's not as much as you think it is. And you have about 80 cards I have left to review. So what I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to hit what on the keyboard? Drew? If I want to filter a deck, what do I hit?
To filter a deck, I have no idea.
You hit F. So I've hit F on the keyboard, right?
F makes
So
sense.
yeah. So you click on the deck, hit F.
Yeah.
So now I'm hitting F. So what you do, let's go through that again. You go med deck, hit F. Now I only want to do my review card. So you do is dot do. You can either do it in random order added, or latest added first. These are the only ones. This is the 20% that gives you the rest, the 80%. You'll only ever be doing this. Sometimes I'll do most lapses to go through cards I struggle with. So what I'll do is I usually order added just to make sure I'm getting everything in order. I'll do 10 cards at a time to build a success streak. Hit build, boom. Describe direct muscle attachments.
Is that tendons or is it something else?
So there's indirect and direct muscle attachments. So direct muscle attachments, I'm pretty sure refers to the epimysium of the muscle being in direct contact with the periosteum of the bone. I think it's the perimysium of the muscles in direct contact with the periosteum of the bone. Oh, it's the epimysium is fused to the periosteum of the bone. Right? And then I'll have the learning objectives open here to reference any information. But now I'm like, okay, what is the epimysium? That is what AMBOSS is for. Epimysium. Okay, let's go in a bit more in depth.
Mhm.
So we know that the muscle itself has 3 layers surrounding it, correct? What are those 3 layers?
The layers in the skeletal muscle. Is it just superficial, intermediate, and deep, or is it something else?
It is epimysium, perimysium, endomysium. So endomysium, if I remember correctly, is around one single muscle
Uh,
fiber. Perimysium is around a fascicle, and then the epimysium is around a bundle of fascicles. Mesium is a suffix that's always used for muscle. Osteum is always used for bones. So now it is going to be outer layers that
mhm.
fuse together, right? So the outer layer of bone is the periosteum. The outer layer of muscles is the epimysium. Does that make sense?
Sounds yeah.
But since I struggled a bit, I'm gonna do hard. Now, what are the layers of the bone outside to in?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it's periosteum, compact bone, medullary cavity, endosteum, and then bone marrow. Is that right? Oh, spongy bone. I messed up. Okay. So yeah, I messed up, right? I'm just gonna hit it with the one. Now, what is the function of compact bone?
Support.
Structural support. Yeah, structural support. You got it. Now, I think you guys have basically got what we were trying to show you regarding this. And now, let's say you only want to do learned cards now, right? What
So
do you
you
do?
make a filtered deck for a specific subject. Is that right?
Yeah, is learn. So now I only want to do this 2 learning cards. Is learn, order added. Now you're only doing those learned cards, not the review cards. Now we're gonna go. What are the layers of the bone outside in? So we notice periosteum, compact, spongy, endosteum, bone marrow. There we got that. What are the functions of compact bone?
Congrats.
Structural support. What are the functions of compact bone? So now we know. Okay, so what is this function of compact bone is structural support, right? Whereas for spongy bone, it is shock absorption. In fact, I'm gonna fix up that card right now. The function of compact bones is structural support, while the function of spongy bone is shock absorption. So now you're wondering, how the hell am I doing this so fast, right? It's just the keyboard shortcuts. That's about it. With a little bit of practice, you can get that done as well. Now, that is how you review cards. Now,
So what do
let's
the
go in.
brackets and the colons mean
What do you mean brackets and colons? Oh, I'll go into that. I'll go into
in
that in a
the
second.
when you edit the okay.
So brackets and colon is basically just the code for the actual close deletion. If you want to
Okay.
hide that portion, you have to hit Command Shift or Control Shift C, and then that's gonna hide it. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? Like, I'll show
Okay.
you an example right
Yep.
now. Now I'm gonna whip and show you guys exactly how we make cards. because I have a monitor, I'll just go like this. I'll open GPT down here. I'll have both these notes open. And now I'll just compare. But this is how you make the tag now. So this is specifically CCS. We're going to do 2 colons to make a sub tag under that tag. We're going to do week 6 and then do 2 subcolons again and go derm history. Now I'm going to screenshot this page, screenshot this page. And usually will format them into questions because I feel like that helps me. And how I think about it is if you ask yourself the right questions, you'll get to the answer. So when patients present with a rash or skin condition, what is it important to determine? What is it important to determine? What is important to determine? Determine when a patient presents with a skin condition, because rashes are just a skin condition. Now we know when and where it began. So onset is one. Distribution, change, how it has changed over time. Relationship to sun exposure, relation and temperature, and responses to treatment. So because we're doing multiple, I will set this card up like this just because it's easier for me to look at.
Mhm.
So now I usually give myself a hint. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll do, if you 2 semicolon at the end of a closed deletion. So now this closed deletion is basically going to be like your back card. You know how you have like a front that asks you a question, and then you flip the card over to the back
Uh-huh.
to give you the answer. So when you want to cover the portion that you don't want to see right away. Does that make sense?
Yep.
No, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5, right? Now I'm gonna make a, what I'll usually do Now, all you do here to get that keyboard shortcut is hit the equal sign and the forward arrow button thingy. I don't know what it's called. Forward arrow button, like this thing right here.
Yeah, okay. The greater than sign.
Yeah, the greater than sign. There you go. I'll copy this and just tell GPT, make me a mnemonic. Okay, got the mnemonic bolster. Ignore that. Now that's closed deletion. Now, image occlusion, for example, we can go to the stages of acne. You screenshot the image.
Don't you think there would already be an option,
Sorry?
or like, would there already be a mnemonic? That's probably, for certain things like this. Would you prefer using an existing mnemonic, or do you want to make your own?
For any existing ones I already know, I'll just use those. But for the ones I don't know, I'll just make up my own.
Yeah.
So now for image
Okay.
occlusion, just go up to this right here. It says add image occlusion. You're gonna Command Shift O. It's gonna open up our desktop. So I screenshotted that. Boom. Stages of acne. Now what you're gonna do is you'll have a rectangle which you use R, S, hit S. That'll take you to the select tool. And then G is if you want to group rectangles together. So I'm going to hit the rectangle. I'm going to cover the parts I want to know. So I want to know hair shaft and gland, I think. I don't remember. The sebaceous gland. So now I'm going to hit S. I'm going to hit S. I'm going to hover over them. Then I'm going to hit group. So now these two will pop up together. Then I'm going to hit group again. These two will pop up together now. Now I want to go back to making rectangles. So when you rectangle something, you're basically covering it up. So now what I would usually do for this type of card is I would hit hide all guess one. So hide all guess one is that you're gonna hide all of these and just guess one of them. So I'm just gonna guess these. Or if you're doing a particular pathway, you want to do hide one, guess one, which they'll show you all of these, but they'll cover one, like they'll cover papule. And then you just guess papule, and then pustule will be open, and then nodule would be open too. Now, all you're doing now is you're just hitting hide all guess one. You've generated 8 cards. You close it. That's it. Simple as that. Now, this next one is a bit complicated.
Can you open that card to show what it looks like?
Yeah, I'll do that for you. So now we're just gonna filter deck is new, right? Is what was our tag? BCS week 6.
CCS.
Acne.
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry, it's not is, it's tag. So you do tag. Boom. That's how we see it. Sebaceous gland, hair shaft. What is this? Plug inflammation. Then you go through like that. Normal follicle. Blackhead, open comedo. Whitehead, closed comedo. Papule, pustule, nodule. Does that make sense?
Cool.
So now I'm going to show you guys a closed overlapper, but I'll do this in a completely different deck because I don't want to be messing up my cards right now. So if you want to make a new deck, just go. I don't make a new deck again. You go add. Wait, what? Sorry, it's right at the bottom. I'm being an idiot. Just create deck example. I'm gonna add card. Now I'm going to go to close overlapping. So you have close deletion, close overlap. Choose. Go. What are the steps for memory? You have, you guys remember encoding, consolidation, retrieval. This is to, I won't tag it, but remember tag. Don't do what I'm doing right now. Just remember to tag it. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit, where is it? Where is it? It's not here. Yeah, right here. Generate overlapping. Now this will generate you an overlap. So all you gotta do, I don't know if you guys saw me do that, but I'll do it again. Okay, we got encoding, consolidation, retrieval. Now just go up here and hit this button. Oh, sorry, my bad. You gotta highlight it and hit the button. Oh, my bad. It's image enhanced. That's why. So now you just go up there, hit this button, boom, 3 cards. Now we're
Okay.
memorizing the steps. Okay. First step, encoding, correct? Encoding, boom.
Yes.
What's the next step, Drew? Consolidation. Next step after
Consolidation.
consolidation,
And retrieval.
retrieval. There you go. Boom. And then they'll give it to you together to just make sure you know it in order. Encoding, consolidation, retrieval. Are you able to see how that's beneficial?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Is there anything else we need to go through? Or we're good?
I guess syncing. Yeah, I mean, like, I think everyone should know
syncing.
to create an account, make an account online, and then log into that account when you open up this app. Once you open the app, you can log in, and then anything you've downloaded, upload it to the account you've made.
Exactly.
That way you can access it from your phone as well.
Yep. The other thing we
Alright.
probably need to go through
It is
are
now midnight.
preferences, settings. You guys can copy the settings here. You can stop and copy again. And you can copy all these settings. Feel free to pause whenever. Feel free to pause whenever. Now, that is the ins and outs of Anki in about an hour, I would say, most likely. Well, everybody, obviously, a lot of information will be linked in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe to the new YouTube channel, The Night Shift. And inshallah, next week, Drew, what's the video we're posting next week?
Wait, what am I doing next week?
what's our next video?
They'll find out. They'll find out next week.
We will be doing a video on the necessity of adaptation and not complaining during medical school. That will be our next video. What do we think?
And life in general.
And life
Sounds
in
good.
general. There we go.